Hi, this is the second of my videos about dividing by fractions. In my first video I discussed how it's important to get children to understand why you multiply by the reciprocal, and we looked at examples such as 1 divided by a half, and we found out that it's actually equal to 2. And that's a slightly unusual thing that will surprise children. And we tried it out with 1 divided by 1/3, and we got the answer is equal to 3. 1 divided by 1/4, the answer is equal to 4, and so on. So children should have come up with the idea by themselves that what you do is you take that second thing up and you turn it upside down and you multiply it. And when they're at that stage, that would probably take one lesson. And then on the second lesson, we can start looking at some slightly more complicated examples. In this particular case, I'm using software rather than cut up bits of paper because it's convenient and it's easy. You'll have a look and see what you think. So if I do a little recap of our last video, we were looking at the kind of questions where we had 1 divided by 1/4, and we looked at that by chopping our 1 up into piles of 1/4. Another way to look at it is to see how many times does 1/4 fit into 1. So let's just revise that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see how many times I can fit a quarter into 1. It goes in once. It goes in twice. 3 times. 4 times. 1/4 fits into 1 4 times. So that means 1 divided by 1/4 equals 4. Now the children will have probably noticed this going on, and will have come up with a hypothesis that you simply, instead of dividing it by a quarter, is the same as multiplying it by 4. And if we try it with other numbers, you'll see that 1 divided by 1/5 is 5, and 1 divided by 1/6 is 6, and so on and so forth. But in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to look at some slightly more complicated, slightly more difficult examples. So the first example we're going to look at is 1/2 divided by 1/4. And I have here a half and a quarter. And again, what we're going to do is we're going to see how many times 1/4 will fit inside 1/2. It goes once. And the answer is twice. A quarter goes into a half twice. Okay, so now let's see if the answer makes sense in the light of our hypothesis of just turning the quarter upside down. Let's see what 1/2 multiplied by 4 equals. Well, look at that. It equals twice. So everything seems to be working out nicely. Another example, 1/2 divided by 1/6. 1/6 fits into 1/2 3 times. And 1/2 times 6 equals 3. In this example, we're going to up the complexity a little bit. We're going to have 2/3 divided by 1/6. So we've got a 2 on the top. What does that do? As you can see, 1/6 goes into 2/3 4 times. And 2/3 times 6. Well, 2 times 6 is 12, and 12 divided by 3 is 4. Everything is still working out as expected. This is the last example I'm going to look at, and it's 3/5 divided by 3/10. So you can see on the right hand side in red I have 3/5 shaded in, and on the left hand side in green I have 3/10 shaded in. And remember, we're seeing how many times 3/10 fits into 3/5. Well, it certainly fits in once. It fits in twice. So 3/5 divided by 3/10 is equal to 2. Now let's compare that with our multiplying by the reciprocal method. We'll see that 3/5 multiplied by 10 thirds. Notice I've got this third on the bottom. That is equal to, well, 3 times 10 is 30, and 5 times 3 is 15, and that equals 2. So at this stage, hopefully I've convinced you, and you'll be able to convince the pupils that you are teaching, that multiplying by the reciprocal will give you the correct answer. I've deliberately chosen examples that I know would work out nicely. If you have to divide fractions, say you had to divide 1/3 by 1/5, then that isn't so easy. So the first thing you need to do is you need to convince children using manipulatives, using these diagrams, that it works. And then once you're convincing them it works, then they just need to remember to divide by a fraction, you multiply by its reciprocal. Hopefully, by investing this time in making sure that they understand why it works and what's going on, they are more likely to remember it. And then when they come to actually apply it, they know all they need to do is to multiply by the reciprocal of that fraction.